We know that Roman law mandated a legal maximum interest rate of 12% per year and that the state enforced this restriction. The basic point is that no later than the second half of the 2nd century and the earlier 3rd century, the equilibrium interest rate determined by the demand and supply of loanable funds was typically, or at least often, greater than 12%. Additionally, there was an important legal provision that total interest payments could not exceed the amount of the loan. The suggestion that Roman deposit bankers normally granted only short-term credit may be explained not by peculiarities of the business model of bankers, but as a rational response to the legal restriction placed on total interest collection. Most basically, the legal restriction on total interest payments would, other things remaining equal, have the effect of reducing long-term loans in absolute terms and also relatively to long-term investments relying perhaps on elites. Thus, the combination of maximum interest rate regulation and inflation made it illegal for banks to collect enough coins through repayment to purchase the same goods and services as earlier plus a profit. On a 12% loan, the real interest rate might have been as little as 3 to 4%. At such rates, only the very safest loans would be made and the banking business would be severely restricted and its profitability limited. Depositors in banks would have felt the same squeeze on their real interest earnings. By the time Diocletian became emperor in 294, the inflation rate had risen to about 23% or even much more. This hyperinflation may be attributed to debasement of coins and or increases in the money supply. With respect to debasement, Wilson notes, in the mid-1st century AD, the denarius had contained 97% silver. In the late 2nd, early 3rd century, a series of debasement reduced this to 40% by AD 250, and further massive debasement took the silver content down to 4% by AD 270. After the debasement of coins, twice as many coins are required to make a purchase. The price level in terms of nominal money has doubled. The problem for banks is that they receive repayment on their loans in nominal money, not in precious metal money. Each coin repaid to the bank purchases only half as much in terms of goods services as the coin it loaned out. The combination of higher prices and a lower cost of holding cash equates the demand for money with the supply. Once again, Roman banks have a severe problem if inflation ends up exceedingly, let's say, 8%. Thus, the Christian writer Lactantius, who lived at the time, reports that Diocletian caused an immensely high price level, and as a result of his price edict, much blood was shed over small and cheap items. In the general alarm, nothing appeared for sale, and the rise in prices got much worse until after many had met their deaths. Sheer necessity led to the repeal of the law. Inflation continued as strongly, perhaps at 17% per year, until Valentinian's coinage reform in 367. In order to protect borrowers, Diocletian with his predecessors and successors enforced a legal maximum interest rate. In the interests of the treasury and probably of debtors, they increased the money supply, causing significant inflation. The combined weight of these policies convinced deposit bankers they had no profitable future, so they disappeared. Diocletian did not specifically aim to eliminate banks, but he did not believe they were needed, and he was undoubtedly glad to see them go. And though each of them is overflowing with the greatest riches, which could supply entire populations, yet they chase after tiny amounts of money and pursue exacting percentages. O my provincials, the reason of common decency persuades us to put a limit on their avarice. Most likely, the